was a very shy young kid. I'm an introvert. You may be surprised, but I like being alone. I don't like big crowds. I like talking to you guys because we're talking about important stuff, and I love sharing important stuff with you. But once I'm done with this convention, I'm going to sleep and hibernate because I like being alone. But the acting thing came because my family was heavily involved with the opera in Chicago. My grandfather had commissioned the critical editions of Verdi's operas. And he had all the cast parties at his house. And they thought it would be adorable if their little son, or grandson, would be in the opera. And so for a long time, they tried to convince me to be in the opera, and I wouldn't do it because I was way too shy. It was way too scary. But eventually, I was about 6th grade, they said, come on. And I said, okay, I'll try it. And what happened was, I mowed the lawn. Cool. What happened is that I went backstage at the opera. And backstage at the opera is not like backstage at any normal theater. Backstage at an opera house is like walking backstage into a city. It's so big. I mean, you understand why the Phantom can hide in there, because there's so much room back there. There's elevators to take you up to different floors. I mean, it's mind-boggling. And I walked in, and I would see these people walk off the street, opera singers. They would get in the elevator, they would go up, they would come down, they'd be Henry VIII. With beard and I was like, oh my God, how did that happen, right? And then they'd go out on stage and they would open their mouths and these voices would come out. Hello. And it just sort of, it blew my mind. And so what happened was, I fell in love with creating the illusion for the audience. It was fun to watch the opera, sure, but being behind the scenes and being behind, we'd have like a castle set, and on the back of the column would be all the notes to the stage direction guys to move it here, move it there, I just thought it was so cool. So I sort of fell in love with being backstage at the opera and being part of creating that illusion. Then when I was a freshman in high school, I was too big to be a kid at the opera, but I wasn't old enough to be a part of the chorus, and I wasn't trained enough either. And so that's when I started doing plays in high school. And so I was doing that for a long time. But ever since I was a kid, I loved animation, and I didn't know what to do with it. I was also a sound designer. I was a hacker, I was a computer programmer, and it was just when computers were getting fast enough to be able to do professional level audio. This is like the early 90s. And I was in college and messing with computers and going, guys, we should do all the audio on a computer. They're like, what are you talking about? And so when I got to grad school in the late 90s, and I was working with a sound design guru of mine who was doing all the big shows in New York. He was amazing. And I would help him out. And he said, Crispin, you're a really good actor and you're a really good sound designer. But you're going to have to make a choice. You can't both be a theater actor and a theater sound designer at the same time. You can't divide it that way. Neither career will take off if you do that. He was right. If I stayed a theater actor, not if I became a voice actor. If I became a voice actor, then I could combine my love of audio and technology with my ability to act and play characters in an environment, animation, where I love the storytelling the most. It was a perfect storm, right? So that's why I'm almost reluctant to tell you what you can and cannot do in LA and New York, because you could totally prove me wrong, and I expect you to, right? Because I totally proved my mentor wrong. And said, no, look, every day I get to work on really cool audio tech, recording my voice, playing characters that mean something to me, and get to work on this storytelling. So that's, I think, also the shift came when I was in New York and I was on Broadway, and I got cast as an animated character as Zelgadis in Slayers. And I got more excited about being Zelgadis than I was about being on Broadway. And I thought, that's sort of telling. Maybe I should pursue more of this animation thing. And that's sort of when the wheels started turning about leaving New York and moving to LA to pursue voiceover full-time. Does that answer your question? Good.